Hi guys, welcome back to Crafty Quilting Designs. It is block number 2 and yay, we're getting close already. I'm so silly, far away from being closer. Anyway, so our block this week for our quilt, our Christmas quilt, is going to be a present block. Okay, so I have made mine in metallic gold and black and metallic red and gold. Okay, so I'm going to take you through now on how to make it. Now we need 4 of these again. So our first block number 1 was our Christmas tree, and we needed 4. And for this block number 2, which is our present block, our Christmas present block, we need 4 again. So in total we should have 8 blocks by next week Friday. So remember, every Friday you are going to get your blocks. Now this one measures the same length. Okay, so all of the blocks are going to be different width, but they all are going to be the same length. All right, so let me take you through now how I actually made this, and hopefully you enjoyed the process as much as I did. Bye for now, guys. Happy quilting, and of course don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that bell so that you know when another video has been uploaded. See you then. Okay, so to make the next block, so the next block number 2, is our Christmas present block. Okay, so again we're starting with 10-inch squares, and I have 4 here for Christmas green. I have this metallic black and gold, and I have a print one here with Christmas stockings and stars and candies, and the other one is another Christmas red. All right. So what we need to do now is to cut this into 4. Now for all of my blocks I will be using fat quarters or yardage, okay, and then I will cut them down to whatever size is required. Now for this one, if you have a Christmas selection such as a layer cake, absolutely brilliant, but we're going to cut it into 4. all right, so obviously they're going to be 5-inch squares. So now I could have just cut them into 5-inch squares, but I just wanted to make sure you understand that you can start from a 10-inch, or if you have 5-inch already, go ahead and do so. So I'm just going to measure my 5 and I'm going to cut them all together. I'm just teasing the fabric to make sure it's nice and centered, and I'm going to, this is a 6-inch ruler, so I'm going to put the 5 on the end and just cut them in half. And I'm not going to move it, I'm just going to cut it in half and then put the ruler the other direction and cut again. And again I'm lining it up. I'm just going to go from this end, again move out because it's a 6-inch ruler, and cut in half. Alright, so that's taken care of. So I am not going to mix my colors. So I'm just going to move the first layer out because that's what I'm going to work with. And I'm going to put these ones at the back for now. Okay, so having my 4 squares here, you need, well, let me give you your sizes now. So you need 1.5 strip. All right, now because of my colors I have mixed them. So remember, my colors here are my green, my red, and my print fabric. So I'm going to use the same strips of colors to alternate the colors in between the block. So I'm using my red for my black and gold. Okay, and so what we need to do is basically make a cross in the middle with the color. So the first place I'm going to start, I'm just going to simply lay it down. So obviously the first one is going to be a 5 inches. So I'm just going to cut that over. I'm just going to turn it over and just simply cut it. Now you can pre-do this, it's entirely down to you. It's no biggie, to be honest, but I'm just going to cut it. So we only need 2 of this one. And I'm going to do another. I'm just simply going to, not arguably I can just simply fold it and cut it, but I didn't do that. So okay, so that's that one done. Okay, so what we need to do now is simply fold this over front sides together and both, and stitch it. Okay, so we're going to do a 1/4 inch there, a 1/4 inch there, and then we will fold this one back over and do a 1/4 inch on that side, and the same for this one. So let's go do that now. Okay, so we just want to cut a 1/4 inch seam going all the way down. Alright, and finger press that back. And we're going to add the other square on. Remember, this is the 2 bottom squares, or there's 2 squares side to side. Again, front sides together, 1/4 inch seam. This is a very simplistic block. It comes together very easily. And it's quite a pretty block also, and also depends on what kind of fabric you use as well. So I'm using metallic red here, Christmas red, and a metallic gold and black, which looks really, really pretty. I'm going to put that one to the side and do the other one. Again, front sides together, 1/4 inch seam. So we need 4 of these. Okay, next side, front sides together. Okay, so that's that one and that one. Okay, so let's go back to the cutting board and I'll show you what to do next. Alright guys, so this is what your block should start to look like. We're going to give this a little press so that we can remove all of the folds, because I don't want those folds there, because that can simply take away your block size. Alright, I'm just adding a little bit of steam just to flatten it, and then I'm really going to just flatten it down so it's nice and crease free there. We don't want the crease. All right, and then do this one again, set those seams, and on the other side, and then really give a nice press there. Okay, I'll put that back on the other side over there. Now the next thing we need to do now is cut the length of fabric to go in there, that strip. So I'm going to go back to my strip now. You can pre-cut this if you want, because obviously you will then know what you need. All right, so let's measure that. I'll get my ruler out and let's see what that comes up as. So we started with a 10 inch. So again, we have a 10.5 inch. So that strip measures a 10.5 inch. So I'm just going to cut it in. We only need the one. And I have lost my, oh no, I found it, my rotary cutter. It's been found, drama over. The amount of time I spend looking for these things. One time I actually lost it for a whole week. I didn't know where it went. I had to get another one. Now we're going to stitch this on there. Okay, now the important thing to remember when you are stitching on this particular one is that we must join these two together here. So once it is stitched on here and you fold it back, you must make sure that these two strips line up. Those sides here must match up there. Otherwise you're going to find that Once you stitch this on, and if it's not centered, you'll find that your present wouldn't be wrapped very well, will be offset. Now, if you like that idea, by all means, you know, not everybody wraps present very well. Some people do it extremely good. But I think I want it to be straight, so it just looks uniform. So let's go and stitch these two together, and then I'll come back and help you to align those properly. So I'm just going to fold that over there. Make sure it's lined properly, and I'm going to go stitch that. Okay, so I have now stitched this together here. I'm just going to give it a little press so that it stays nice and flat, because I want it to be all aligned properly. So nothing special, just to flatten it down. Now, I've got my little pin cushion here because I want to make sure that once I flip this over and I line it up, you shouldn't have a problem. You really shouldn't have a problem. Okay, so because we've measured this and we know, and we've already ironed it open, so we know that there's no creases on this side or on that side, so it is equated to that 10.5-inch length strip that we actually need. So do not just measure the strip without ironing the block, because you will not have stretched the block out. And when I say stretch, but smoothen it out so that it's nice and flat, otherwise it's going to be just as it's sewn before we flatten it down. So I'm just going to pin it just to make sure it doesn't move, and I'm going to check that it's lined up properly before I go to the sewing machine, because I absolutely hate unpicking. So I'll just put a pin at the top, and I'm going to put one in the middle, and what I'm going to check for is to make sure, and yes it does, I can see these lines here mirror each other. And just bring that closer to you, so I can see they actually mirror each other and everything lines up nice and flat. Okay, so I'm going to go on the sewing machine now, a 1/4-inch seam down there. Okay guys, so my present here is ready, well, at least the first part is. Just wanted to inform you that when you do the back, make sure you press it down so that all of these seams here lay really flat. Remember, this block is going to be quilted, so we don't want any bulky seams. Okay, once you've done that, make sure you press the front nice and flat. Now let's move on to the bow. So I'm going to put that to the side for the moment. So for your bow, you need a 2.5 by a 4.5. Okay, and I have elected to use the same colors within my present box here at the moment. Okay, so again, that's 2.5 by 4.5. And you need two 2.5-inch squares. Okay, now to make the first part of the bow, we need to, and I've just ironed my ones here, you can simply draw a line. Because it's black, I didn't bother, I just folded it in half, and I've just put the iron on there just to crease it. Now we're going to make some flying geese, or if flying geese is one of these things that troubles you, just think of it as cornerstones. We're just going to add some cornerstones onto here. Now, all I'm going to do is to put the square front sides together, and I'm going to stitch along that line there. Okay, and once I've stitched along the line, I'm then going to cut a 1/4-inch away, and then I will fold it back. So then I will have this particular pattern here. Now we need to do it one at a time. Do not try to do the both of them at the same time. Okay, so I'm going to do that now. So I'm going to just lay it on there nicely. I'm going to use a pin because I don't want it to move on me. I'm just going to put a pin there. You don't have to, but I know how fabric likes to move, and these ones, as I said, they're metallic, so I'm just going to make sure that they don't move. And all I'm going to do is sew from that point to that point. Okay, so from that point to that point along my ironed line there. Okay, my crease line. So let's go do that now, and then once I've done that, I'm going to fold this one back and then do the other side. Okay guys, so I've stitched on my first stitch line there. So remember, it's from corner to corner, so from the outside corner to the inside corner. Okay, so I'm just going to cut this off. Just put it 1 inch away, well, sorry, ½ inch away, and just trim it off. Okay, right, so the next step, I'm going to kick those threads off also, because that really annoys me. Okay, so I'm going to put that back. I'm just going to finger press it so it stays still, because I hate when they always pop up. Right, so the next step now is to do the very same thing. Again, you are adding the block or the square on. Okay, you're cornerstoning that 4.5 by 2.5, and I have my press line there. You can see it popping up, and I'm simply just going to stitch from there to there, and then do the same thing and trim it off. And again, I'm going to put a little pin on it, because I find sometimes when your squares gets a little bit more smaller, they're a little bit more fiddly. They tend to misbehave. So put a little pin in it so it actually stays, and adjust it there so it meets end to end. So again, from that point to that point there. Okay, so let's go do that now. Okay, so I've done that now. Okay, so all I'm going to do is the same thing, is to just 1/4 inch off of there. I've just got a square template here. I'm just going to use that. Doesn't really matter what you use as long as you've got a straight line. And I think I need to change my blade. Okay, so that's it there. So that is your flying geese. Nice and simple, no stress. Now I'm going to press that back so it remains, because it's keep going. It's flying already. So I'm just going to press that back, a little bit of heat on it so it stays nice and flat. Beautiful, lovely. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do now is add on the ends. Okay, so this is where this goes. So hopefully you can see that already taking shape there. Now I'm going to continue with the red on the end there. Now, ideally you can simply measure what you need, but looking at it, I think it's probably at least 8 inches. So I'm going to cut an 8-inch strip, or I could simply just cut what I need. So I think it's probably 4 inches. So I'm just going to cut 4 there and 4 there, and then add it on. All right, so I'm going to cut, let's see what this measures as, rather than getting more fabric out. I'm just trying to use up this piece here. So, oh, look at that. Now that is magic. It is exactly 8 inches. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So I need 8 by 2.5, because this is what this is here on the end. So 8 by 2.5. Isn't that amazing? Whoa, look at that. Absolutely brilliant. Love it when a plan works out. Well, I didn't plan it, but it just worked out. Oh, brilliant. So let me get my 2.5, and I am good. Oh, I just love it. Absolutely brilliant. See, this means that we are making a wonderful quilt here, guys. I'm just going to cut it in half. I'm just going to finger press that there and simply just cut it. This is what you call a good quilt, because I did not measure that, it just happened. So what we're going to do now is just add that on to there. Okay, so again, front sides together, and then front sides together, set our seams, and then I'll show you what to do next. Okay guys, so all of the 3 or 4 components in this particular place is all stitched together. Okay, so it's front sides. Now I'm just going to trim this out, because looking at it there, just put it on the mat, and I can see there's a slight little bow with my geese here. So I'm just going to straighten it up. Now, this is not a major issue, so if it happens to you, do not panic. All right, so it's nothing much, just that little bit there, but I'm just being fiddly and I'm going to trim it off. Ideally, that will be hidden in the seam allowance, so really you don't have to even remove it, and you can see it is really nothing. Okay, so I'm just going to put a good press on this now. I'm just really shocked that that fabric was literally 8 inches. That's brilliant. So I'm just going to iron that. Look at that. I love this fabric. As soon as that heat goes on, it just really changes that metallic color. Absolutely lovely. Right, so the next stage now is to add this onto the block. Just rid of these little threads here. So we need to make sure that we center this. So again, do not put it like that, otherwise your bow will be upside down. So you need to ensure that it is right side up. Now, to center this, you fold it in half and give yourself a little crease there. Or if you want, you can go to the iron and you do the same for this one. Now I know that my strip here is going to be longer because I think initially it was 3.5, but I prefer to cut it a little bit longer and then trim it. So that's why I went for 8, just to be on the safe side. Because there's no point cutting it short and then having to do it all over again. So I'm just creasing the middle there. So open that back up, I can see my crease there. Open this back up, I can see my crease there. And I'm going to put those 2 creases together, making sure that it's lined up nicely. Or if you want, you can use the point there where your geeses actually meet in the middle there. Okay, and ensure it's on there properly. Lovely. So what I'm going to do now is to pin this literally and flip it over, and I can see my crease line there and my little bit of a crease line down there, and I'm simply going to pin it so it doesn't move, because yeah, we know this happens. So definitely pin this one, because I can guarantee that you will definitely unpick it. Otherwise you're gonna have a wonky present. Okay, so 1/4 inch, and then we're going to flip it back, give it a nice iron, and then trim the sides up, and that will be our present block completed. Okay, let's go do that now. Okay, so this is all stitched on now, so let's set the seam on this, and then we can have a good look at the block. Remember, keep everything flat, and I'm referring to the seams. In fact, let me just give the front a little bit of a press so that it folds back nicely. And don't force the seams, let it go wherever it wants to. All right, don't force the seams, because mine is saying it wants to go that way, so I'm just letting it go that way. I'm not trying to force it otherwise. Right, so that's the beginning of that, or I should say the end. So what we need to do now is simply just trim up the edges. I'm going to use my little template here, and then we shall measure the block and see what it actually, the size comes out. I'm going to use my long ruler for this, because then I can make sure all the edges are actually straight at the same time. So I'm going to use my line here, and here, and of course on the side here, just to make sure that everything is nicely trimmed, because I don't like the edges sticking out, even though it's nothing to be fussful about, because again, when we doing patchwork, sometimes the blocks can get a little bit out of shape, which is part of it. So but I like to just take off those minor imperfections there. Okay, and I'm going to do that for the bottom one as well, just to make sure it's lovely and straight. And again, I'm using the cutting mat there and there, and just lining up the points on both ends just to make sure it's nice and straight. Again, this will just be taken up in the seam allowance, but I like to make sure, and again, nothing much, very, very small. Okay, so again, using the line there and the line at the bottom, and putting my long ruler, lining it all up, and making sure everything's lovely and straight. Okay, and that completes our block. Oh no, we've got one more little bit there at the top there. Again, line up top and bottom against our line. And just slightly moved. And I know I'm being really fussy, guys. I'm sorry, but I just want to make sure the block is lovely and straight. The last thing and I know this is, and I've said this before, it is really very, very minute trimmings I'm taking off. It most likely will not make a difference at all, but it's just me. Just like to see all the edges lovely and straight. And it's not an OCD. Okay, so that is our present block. Okay, so I will continue and make the rest of my blocks. But what I'm not going to do, however, is to simply, I am not going to mix them. I don't want to do that. You can, if you wish, if you want to mix the blocks, and I'm referring to the 5-inch squares here. If you wanted to do something like this, you can, but I am quite happy to keep it as is, to be honest. I'm quite happy to do that, to keep it. Oh, but you know, that looks all right actually. That looks okay, but I think I'll keep mine at 1 block, so it's entirely down to you. So we need 4 blocks in total, and let me just separate this one here. I can see I didn't go right through with that cut. Okay, so we need 4 in total, so I will keep my reds together and then I will add on the black for my red. So that is what I will do. Okay, and then for this particular one, I will then add my green, my Christmas green, and then vice versa, I will put the green on this particular one here. Okay, so go ahead, make 4 blocks. Now let me measure this block, and I think it's very much almost the same size, or if not the same size as the Christmas tree. So the Christmas tree was, I think, 9.5 across by 12 down. So let's see what this comes out as. So this is 12 down, no, 12.25. So I'm going to make this into a 12-inch block, and the width is 10.25. So what I'm going to do is trim this down. So I'm going to start with this end, and I'm going to remake it literally 12 inches. I'm just going to double check that again. Yes, definitely. So I'm just going to go straight to that line there, making sure everything lines up. Right, so I'm going to get my proper ruler with all the markings, and I love this for trimming up because it have all the block sizes there. So I want to take off 1/4, so I'm just literally going to take off 1/4, and I can use my 1/4 mark here. I'm going to use my line there. Excellent. So I'm not too worried about the width. The width is fine. It's mainly the height is what I want to keep all of the length the same. So let's double check this now. Beautiful. This is exactly 12. So just measure the length of your block to be 12". I'm not worried about the size at all of the present. So the present here width is 10 and a quarter. Okay, so 10 and a quarter by 12. That is our block size. All right, 10 and a quarter across by 12 in length. So that's 2 blocks altogether so far that we have. So this is block number 2. Our first block was a Christmas tree, and this is block number 2. So continue, guys, to make all 4 blocks, and then I will see you next week Friday for block number 3. So happy quilting, guys, and bye for now. And don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. See you. Bye.